Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen. I'm actually very impressed with you right now.
Thanks.
Here's the crazy thing. The listeners...
I know, the listeners are going to... I just signed my name.
Yeah, it just got dead quiet.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with you right now, dude. I took sign language in elementary school at Pease. Don't remember anything. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I remember how to say name. And there's a few things I know. I wish I was like really good at it. And of course this, our episode today just made me, want to start getting into it again. But
I'm sure there's a Duolingo class.
I know funny ones, like dead. That one's funny. Cheese. Taco.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but because since you went to Catholic school, I went to public school.
Yeah.
One of the schools I went to was a magnet school, Pease Elementary, and we had tons of electives. And I don't remember if I chose to take sign language or if like one of my parents were like, you should take sign language. I was enjoying it and understanding it, but I don't know. Like I've forgotten. Yeah. But you know what, dude? I'm very impressed with you.
Thanks.
The fact that you now answer me truthfully because you're on camera and on the spot. Did you have to look up your letters?
I looked up, yes, because I don't remember what H was. So I had to look up H. I knew the others. So.
Nice. Nice. Well, everyone, let's get this out of the way now. We've had a little bit of jokes, but we're going to get a little serious for a second here. As many of you know, on Sunday, relative to this recording, one of our favorite directors and favorite people, honestly, Rob Reiner passed away, and it's a huge bummer. I don't think at least for me, I don't think I've talked about it enough on the show, but I truly loved Rob Reiner. The Princess Bride was the first thing I was ever exposed to of his. And I think that's a gateway for a lot of people, especially if you haven't seen All in the Family, right? It was the show he was on.
Yeah, my parents never watched reruns of All in the Family. It wasn't like their jam, but my first exposure was also The Princess Bride and Stand By Me. Those were my first two.
Oh yes, I almost forgot about Stand By Me. I always forget that he did Stand By Me because tonally it's so different to The Princess Bride, but it's all and it just really sucks to go in such a sudden way. It really blows.
No, I mean it's horrific. It's tragic. It's not fair. It's anytime Rob Reiner was in anything as an actor, it was always a joy, right? I remember being surprised when he was on New Girl. Like that was fun.
Dude,
as Jess is dead.
I was hoping you'd bring up New Girl.
Yeah. Amazing.
I was telling Mom, I broke the news to Mom because she hadn't been paying attention. And I was telling her about one of my favorite lines of his, which was in New Girl. It's the episode where he's getting married to Caitlin Olsen.
Right.
And they can't find the wedding ring. And so they send Nick to Jamie Lee Curtis's house, which for those of you who haven't watched New Girl, Rob Reiner and Jamie Lee Curtis play Zooey Deschanel's character's parents. So they send Nick over to Jamie Lee Curtis's house. She's done like a bunch of like ayahuasca and like having a spiritual like awakening, and her fingers are like covered in rings. And Jess has got Nick on the phone, and you can hear Nick like screaming into the receiver because he's just so confused. And the camera goes to Rob Reiner, and with the straightest face, he just goes, "It's acid, isn't it?" Like it's, and I don't know why, but that shit cracks me up every time. And Rob is the best, dude.
No, he's got great delivery. I think one of my favorite performances of his, because it's so bombastic and so over the top, is him in Wolf of Wall Street as Jordan Belfort's dad. It's so funny, dude. He is perfect.
Yeah, I really wonder if Scorsese was like, Rob, I think you know how to play this character. And Rob was like,
and
yeah.
You know, speaking of All in the Family, one of the few clips I've seen of All in the Family is one that I think about a lot because of Haley. And so the scene is, okay, Archie comes in, right? Archie Bunker, right? And he's talking with, I forgot his character's name, Rob Reiner, and he's putting on his shoes. And what he does is absolutely insane. He does sock, shoe, goes to the other foot, sock, shoe, right? And they're talking, and he goes, wait. Did you just put your sock and your shoe on before you put your sock on your other foot? He goes, yeah. He goes, what are you out of your mind? You know, and then he starts berating him about like how crazy that is. Like, you can't just finish a foot without starting the other foot. And Haley does sock, shoe. So I think about that a lot.
Dude, yeah, it sucks, especially because like when Ashley told me what had happened, you know, I definitely feel like Rob never really had like a dip or a resurgence. I think Rob Reiner has always been very consistent, but you know, he was sort of on this career kind of like greatest hits. You know, he was able to write, direct, and release a Spinal Tap sequel, which I've heard is pretty good, as compared to the original.
I haven't seen
the original, Criterion worked with him again to oversee the 4K transfer for Spinal Tap, and it got new packaging, and which I was very excited for because loving Rob so much, I really wanted the Criterion Spinal Tap, but it was out of print, and the only copies I could find were astronomically.
Yeah, the DVDs. Yeah.
And so the fact that Criterion re-released it on 4K with new box art that Rob oversaw, I was like, sold. Let's go. Yeah, because I already have the Princess Bride, and yeah, man, it
is such. It's almost a rite of passage seeing the Princess Bride.
Oh, 100%.
Because
you know, that
it's
for sure,
especially for I think like young boys, because they're like, it's like a fantasy princess movie. I'm not gonna watch that, you know.
Yeah.
And then your dad is like, trust me, watch the Princess Bride, and it's just such a perfect movie, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, Rob Reiner was so eclectic in his style that it isn't, you know, no one Rob Reiner film feels like a Rob Reiner film in a way, because like he goes from Princess Bride, and then he does Misery, and then he does Stand By Me, and then he does A Few Good Men, and then Harry Met Sally, and you know, you have all of these. That was not in order, but you have all these different types of movies that he does, and it's amazing. And then he does Spinal Tap, you know what I mean? And then that's super different than everything else. Yeah, man. I mean, this was a huge loss and a sudden and horrifically tragic loss.
Yeah, everyone. So we just want to take a moment to hope that Rob and his wife Michelle are at peace, and he'll be missed. And for sure, Princess Bride is a future episode, 110%. Even, I'm going to be honest, I had been thinking about doing it even before this, but with this, I feel like we should definitely do it. And here's a little inside baseball. I did pitch to Jeremy us potentially changing this week's episode to go ahead and kind of do that honoring of Rob. I would be honest with you, dude. After I texted you and said, should we do Spinal Tap or Princess Bride? As soon as I hit send, I was like, I really want to do Princess Bride if he says yes. Like I was really banking on you being like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do Princess Bride. But after I hit send, I was like, shit, I should have just said let's just do Princess Bride. But even though Rob will be missed, I am glad we didn't change to this week's episode.
I couldn't let this one go.
Yeah,
No.
After finishing it, I was like, we got to do it. So again, everyone, we hope Rob and his wife are at peace, and he will be missed. And look for our Princess Bride episode in the near future. But today, was my pick. If you watched last week, which some of you did, which was pretty astounding considering I was not expecting that at all. Here, let me see. It's got 16 views, which compared
that's
to
good for us.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's good.
This week was my pick again because Jeremy told me he had a really good Christmas movie lined up for next week, so we decided to flip. So this week we are discussing the 2019 drama film Sound of Metal, and I need to correct myself because I said The Sound of Metal last week, so Sound of Metal. Every time I talk about this movie, I always want to say The Sound of Metal because I don't know. I feel like that flows better.
I don't feel that way at all. So
So this was a first watch for me, which, as I mentioned in our tease,
what a treat.
Yeah, as I mentioned in our tease last week, I think knowing the fact it was on Amazon that I could watch it anytime I wanted, I was like, yeah, I can watch it anytime I want. So I'm just not gonna. I'll watch it when I get to it, which I think is kind of the mentality I've been adopting for certain movies that are on streaming, like what we were talking about off mic, like with Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I haven't watched Frankenstein yet, because I know I can watch it whenever I want.
That's right.
Until Netflix ups the price again.
Right.
But yeah, this was a first watch, and man, I'm just gonna go and get first impressions out of the way now. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I don't mean this in a negative way, but not as devastating as I was expecting it to be. I was truly expecting this movie to be incredibly devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not. I would say almost more hopeful than devastating. Yeah, it sucks, which we'll get to. But after I finished it, I was like I don't feel bummed. I feel almost kind of like lighter in a way, which we'll get to. Now, this was obviously not a first watch for you.
No.
What did you remember the first time you saw the movie?
Okay. So I watched it on Amazon. And I had been waiting for it for a while because I saw that it was an Amazon Studios film. So I was like, oh, it's going to be on Amazon any day now, And it took forever for it to be on Amazon. It usually does, and I just didn't remember. And by that time, like Cinefix had already sung its praises. A whole bunch of other platforms were like, "Oh my god, this movie's incredible! Riz Ahmed is amazing," and all this. And so I was pretty hyped. So as soon as it came on Amazon, I watched it, and it blew me away. It was such an interesting film in terms of sound design, really putting you in the shoes of Ruben and having the audience be in that specific experience that Ruben is dealing with is incredible. And it also taught me what cochlear implants do. I didn't know that's how they sounded. Same. Yeah. And so, because I thought, just like Ruben thought, that it's just like this miracle thing that you can just hear, right? And where that is kind of the case, it is a miracle. And, someone who's never heard sound before, this is, groundbreaking and, mesmerizing, transcendent, amazing, incredible. But for someone who has lived most of their life hearing, it's different. And it's not what you think it is, and it's sort of disorienting and distorted and not like hearing is with your ears. And I thought that was incredible. Especially the way that the film bounces back and forth between what other people can hear and then what Ruben is experiencing, I thought was very well done and very well balanced. But I will tell you this time, I felt the opposite. I was more devastated this time.
Really?
Yes, because um it hit me so much harder when Ruben is acclimating to being deaf and
Mm-hmm.
is working on a sign language and working on building that his relationships with his group and with building relationships with the kids that he's in the classes with um and really giving a go at being deaf. Like he is, learning sign language and he is, being able to communicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when he goes and gets the implants, I'm just so devastated for him because seeing it before, I know how it ends and I know how it sounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was so sad this time because I really wanted Ruben to just stick with it, to just like
Yeah.
learn to be deaf and be fine with it. And of course, that's what Joe wants for him also. Um,
Okay, then let me rescind that statement.
you don't have to.
um,
It's completely fine.
well,
This is how I felt this
well, well, no, because you're right. Which you know what, we'll get to that here. So synopsis, everyone. Sound of Metal. So Sound of Metal follows Ruben, played by Riz Ahmed, who is a drummer for this avant-garde metal band with his girlfriend Lou. They're called Black Gammon, right?
time.
Yeah. And one day, setting up for a show because they're on tour, Ruben notices something's wrong with his hearing. Goes to a local pharmacy to see if there's anything they can do. He's then directed to a doctor, and he is told his hearing is rapidly deteriorating, and he will eventually have no hearing whatsoever. He tells Lou all of this, who, after what she thinks is a relapse, because Ruben is a recovering addict, she calls his sponsor, who finds this program run by a man named Joe, who helps essentially addicts and those living with deafness learn to see that being deaf is not a handicap, it's not a disability. It is just a new way of living. And as Jeremy, you were already saying, Ruben at first is very apprehensive to all of this, but after Lou essentially gives him an ultimatum, because she's going somewhere, which we don't know yet. She has him promise him that he will go and he will participate in the program, which he does, again, very begrudgingly, but over time his barriers start to break down. He's learning sign language. He's learning how to communicate again without his hearing, and we're really seeing him thrive, really. But he can't let go of Lou, and essentially Facebook stalks her, and decides to sell their old van, all his drumming equipment, to pay for the surgery to get cochlear implants so he could hear again. Which, like you said, Jeremy, in the film, he thinks that this will be a cure-all. But unfortunately, it's not. Because as the doctor explains, the implants are tricking his brain into thinking that he can hear. So it doesn't sound the same anymore. It's very distorted and very metallic, and it's not the same. He then confesses all of this to Joe, and Joe unfortunately kicks him out of the program, because what Joe wanted for Ruben is to accept his new life with his deafness, because as he tells Ruben, deafness is not a handicap. It is not something that needs to be fixed. And unfortunately, Ruben broke that. He then flies to Paris to track down Lou, in the hopes that maybe her seeing him be able to somewhat hear again, they'll get back together. But he sees that Lou has been thriving in Paris with her father. She hasn't been scratching herself, which I think was cutting. And after a birthday party for her dad, Ruben starts laying out all these plans about how they're gonna go back to the States and they're gonna go back on tour and they're gonna do an album and this and that. But he immediately notices Lou starting to scratch herself and realizes that, in a good metaphor, he is essentially her heroine, and he needs to go. And the film ends with Ruben taking a moment for himself, title of the episode, but also what Joe would consistently tell him: take a moment of stillness. And he removes his implants, and we're meant to believe finally accepts his new life, and that's Sound of Metal. Yeah, so back to me taking back that statement, because you're right, it is devastating. Look, like reanalyzing what I said, it is very devastating, because he is making progress, he's making friends, he's building relationships in the deaf community, and like what Joe tells him, you're behaving like an addict. He does. He sort of throws all of that away because he thinks this will fix him. And if anything, it makes it worse. And now thinking about it, it makes it worse.
Well, yeah, because this movie isn't just about someone dealing with a sudden loss of hearing. It's also a movie about addiction, because he is an addict, right? And Joe is absolutely right when he says he's acting like one, and that's why I felt so uneasy during these moments in the film where, you know, he's doing great, he's acclimating, he's being able to communicate and make and form bonds and relationships, and he just won't let it go. He won't let Lou go. He won't let the idea of still playing music go. Not that he probably could have found a way to still do it. But he just can't let that old life go, because he feels that, and the film hints at this in a subtle way, which I really liked, where Ruben has associated his sobriety with Lou. Because when Joe asked, how long have you been clean? He said 4 years. How long have you been with Lou? 4 years. He only knows sobriety with Lou, right? And there's a moment when they're in Paris where they just tell each other that they saved the other's life. I mean, they are each other's saving grace, but now that their lives are saved, you know, they're only hurting each other with their choices. Because the other one, they're just not compatible anymore. Which is devastating. I think that's devastating.
I know.
And I just like that this film balances both having a character deal with a new way of life while also trying to maintain another difficult passage in their life all at the same time, because he's having to stay clean, but he's also having to deal with his loss of hearing, and he's a musician, right? It couldn't happen to a worse person, to a person at the worst time, or, you know, with the most inconvenient hobby and career, right? And another thing I think this film does, which is just so incredible, is using our lack of knowledge of what a cochlear implant does. Because when I first saw this movie, I was like, yeah, just get the implant. I don't understand what the problem is, right? Yeah, it's expensive, and I understand that is a hurdle that we will cross. But it kind of seems like a no-brainer to me, you know? And I think most people would agree. watching this movie because we have the same amount of information Ruben does. And the filmmakers understand that a lot of people don't understand what it is and what it means to have one, and what it means for certain communities, right? Joe's, it's more of a halfway house, I think. Joe's halfway house, they truly believe that deafness is just it is the way of life. It is not a handicap. It is not something to fix. It is just how we live. This is it, right? And there's absolute merit in that. And there's merit in wanting to do anything you can to try to get your life back together. So I see both sides of it. But knowing that we as the audience probably aren't going to understand what a cochlear implant does, we follow his journey through this, and when he finally gets it calibrated, we're like, that's it? And we are just as shocked as Ruben is. We are going through this exact same experience as he is at the same time, because we're also disappointed. And that is incredible that they were able to pull that off.
Yeah. Ashley was kind of half watching, which she actually kind of watched a good chunk of it. I told her she's busy making Christmas gifts. She's hand crocheting a lot of people's Christmas gifts this year, so she was half paying attention. And she when it got to the scene where Joe kicks out Ruben after saying that it's not something to fix, she's like, well, yeah, actually, like in the deaf community, they getting a cochlear implant is sort of, I use the term controversial, but I don't think that's the word she was looking for, but it is sort of like what she was saying is sort of like it's taboo. Because like with Joe's program, Joe's teaching these people like, hey, like deafness is just, it's a part of you. You're not broken because you're deaf. You're not lesser because you're deaf. And I'm going to help you learn that. And I think, especially he wants that for Ruben, which again, I'm kind of glad I'm taking back that statement, because I would say for me, that's one of the most devastating scenes when Joe has to kick out Ruben.
Yeah.
And he just, you can tell he's trying not to break down, but it's clearly breaking his heart.
Yeah.
Because I think, he saw Ruben a sort of, not a pet project, but as a protege, as someone that like, Joe, as he explains, he's been deaf pretty much since he was probably a young man. And now here's a young man that was probably maybe his age when he was deaf, going through that. If I don't work with him now, he won't understand. At least that was my understanding of Joe's character. And yeah, that was so hard to watch, of Joe just having to let him go.
Yeah.
Because in a way, to use a very extreme term, Ruben essentially committed a cardinal sin, and felt like he needed to fix himself.
Well, he couldn't let it go. Again, it's the same as when Joe says he's being an addict. He is, and he's just changed his focus. And what he's done is, instead of throwing all of his life away for drugs, he's doing it for hearing. And for what? I love Paul Rossi, by the way. He plays Joe. He's also in Sing Sing, which came out a year or so ago, and he's just incredible. He can hear, but he is a child of deaf adults. He's a CODA, as they call them, and he is a certified sign language interpreter, ASL interpreter, and instructor, I think. He also plays in a metal band that they their songs are in ASL.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about him in the trivia after the movie ended, and I did read that like both of his parents were deaf, but he can hear. But again, but I think it adds so much to the film that they got these people that ASL and deafness are a big part of their lives.
Yeah.
I was also reading that apparently Riz got to the point where he was just communicating with the entire crew and cast in ASL, like really trying to immerse himself and
cool.
And I think that's really rad, man. And to answer my question from last week, he did learn the drums.
He did.
Apparently, apparently took 6 months and he learned how to play the drums. But before I continue to sing Riz's praises, I do want to go back and talk about the sound design, man. The sound design of this film it's amazing. I loved that we got these moments to really hear things from Ruben's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I would almost forget what the rest of the movie sounds like, and then we get that cut and we can hear normally again.
Yeah.
And it was blowing my mind.
Yeah, there are moments like at the dinner table, for instance, at the halfway house, where it's from his perspective, so everything's muffled, almost to the point of silence. But then it cuts to what we would hear if we stepped into that space, and they're banging on the tables, they're clanking silverware, they are using their voice kind of, and it's a ruckus. And it's so ironic that they can hear, but they're making all this noise, and it's just the sound of the communication is so interesting, and especially hitting the table, because obviously there are certain things that that we take for granted in our communication with our hearing, which is we don't have to look at each other, right?
Yeah.
To talk. And they, of course, need to get people's attention to speak to them, and to communicate with them. So banging on the table, touching arms, shoulders, hands in front of faces, that sort of thing is fascinating to watch. And yeah, just like sitting in certain situations with Ruben, one of those situations that I found really powerful was when he's doing the hearing test, and we're hearing it from his perspective, and I mean, like, I wouldn't be able to get those words either, like, and then of course it's so sad when it's so matter of fact that we're not dwelling too much on how did this happen, right? Or whatever. It's just like, listen, the doctor's like, either it's your exposure to sound or autoimmune, it doesn't matter, it's gone. And that's hard to hear, that's hard to digest, and that's hard to process. You're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Putting yourself in these shoes, you're like, what would you do? What would I do? I don't know. I would freak out for sure. So, Ruben is a lot of us. Ruben is like, well, how can I fix it? I mean, desperate to find a solution to this problem. Especially because it's so sudden. And I was telling Haley the synopsis in the movie, and she goes, "Oh, that unlocked a new fear. Thank you for that." That it can just happen, But yeah, this movie is incredible. Riz Ahmed is transcendent in this.
Agreed.
He is unbelievable. His best performance by far.
Agreed.
Yeah.
110%, man.
It's unbelievable. He's so good.
The first time I ever saw him in anything, and I think it goes for maybe a lot of people, was Rogue One.
Oh, interesting.
And because I had really not, or maybe I had, I don't know. But I really don't remember seeing him in anything until that point.
Let's see. I think a lot of people in the like sort of art
Oh,
house.
I forgot he was in fucking Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. That's the first thing I saw him. It was Nightcrawler. But
So okay, I had seen
he was
Nightcrawler
also in
before.
Four Lions, which is like a big like indie film that like didn't get a lot of distribution. A lot of people haven't seen it. Apparently, it's hilarious. I have not seen it either. But he's in that.
Isn't our boy Dev Patel in that?
I think so. I think they got a lot of Indian actors for that.
But yeah. But anyway, yeah. So okay, no, that's a lie. So I'd seen Nightcrawler first,
yeah.
but I
also fantastic in Nightcrawler. I'm not diminishing his performance in that. I'm saying that this
is amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people I'm really glad he chose to do this movie, because considering the movie he did before this was Venom, which not his fault.
I've seen it.
That's the fault of a weak script, in my opinion. Because it's not even Tom Hardy's fault.
No.
But I'm so glad he chose to pick this one for his next project after he completed Venom, because I'm really hoping, I'm sure it did, this movie made people forget about Venom.
He also did a movie after this that I found. It's a bootleg or something. I don't know. I found it at Half Price Books. It's called Mogul Mowgli, I think, is what it's called. Some sort of like Middle Eastern rapper goes through like a tough time in his life or something. I don't know. I need to see it.
Well,
it was so cheap, so I just bought it because I'm like, oh, it's Riz, you know?
Yeah. Well, in sidebar, speaking of Riz Ahmed, apparently he has like a music career too.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, I was doing a lot of research about Riz for this episode, and yeah, he like put out a concept album.
Interesting.
Under his name. It's just Riz Ahmed. And I've been meaning to listen to it, but I keep.
Do you know what genre of music it is?
Rap.
Oh, it is rap. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's yeah. Hang on, let me get back up again. Yeah, it's called.
Listen,
it's called The Long Goodbye.
British rap can be dicey for me, so I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing. I constantly forget he's British.
Yeah,
I constantly forget he's British, because again, back to the episode, he's so good that I could believe that he was, from like the Midwest or
Well, he's like, it's not just his accent, which is great. I mean, that's, whatever. British people are so good at American accents. I don't know how they do it, but but it's the way he's speaking. It's the words he's using, the cadence he's using. It just seems like, it doesn't seem like he's, a lot of times when we watch movies, it's sort of, you don't really think about it, but you're not thinking like this is a real person,
Right.
This time I'm sort of like, this could be a real person. Like,
yeah,
because they're giving him dialogue that isn't like snappy, precise. Like, he's sort of all over the place, especially with his swearing is sort of all over the place. It's not like, it's someone who is struggling and who is desperate and who is, going through such a difficult time. And that is being shown through his speech pattern, which I it's unique, and I really, it's impactful.
Yeah. And something I want to piggyback on that, and this may or may not sound weird, but it's also conveyed through his eyes. I've never really noticed that Riz has these really big eyes, you know, and that his the part around your irises,
Sure.
the that the color of the almost makes his eyes black,
Uh-huh.
that like the iris and the color of it, you know, and I think that lends itself to, like, you can really see his pain and his frustration, and he doesn't have to just say it like, oh, I'm angry, you know, we can really see it in his
Hmm.
eyes. And like, again, I'm going back to the scene of when Joe kicks him out, you know, we can see in Riz's eyes the, you know, going from happy because I did the thing I said I was going to do, I got the
Yeah.
implants, to, you know, kind of confusion, like, you know, Joe, why aren't you happy for me, man? Like, this was always the plan. To um you know, almost sort of like a child that's disappointed their parent,
Hmm.
like, oh man, like, you know, I let you down, I didn't mean to do that. And then to eventually just kind of like, well, Joe's not going to budge, and essentially accepting the situation. And I feel like Riz's range was on full display here.
Yeah.
And again, I think his eyes lend a lot to that, you know.
There's also a couple of scenes where they choose to pick actions, like, I don't know if it's his choice, if it's in the script, not sure, but some of his choices are sort of vulnerable and awkward in a way, like truly acting as if no one is watching, right? There's the scene where he is sitting down to write for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's banging on the table because he's so upset and he's so frustrated by this experience, but he's like smashing the donut and he's sort of putting it back together, he's smashing it again, but then he like takes a moment to take a sip of coffee, you know, like that's not typical in scenes like this, you know. It would just be a full on freak out, like they would just be upset, they'd be flipping the table, they'd be, you know, leaning into it. But his
Mm-hmm.
is such a realistic interpretation of frustration, like, because I'll catch myself if I'm frustrated with something, but like I'll do the same thing where I'll hit the table, but I'll continue to work, or I'll do something like, but then I have to continue on doing what I'm doing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so vulnerable and so real and so raw that like the whole movie's like that. You know, there are also moments that subvert expectations, like the scene before it, where I thought for sure Joe was calling him in to the house to tell him, "Hey, man, why were you on my computer?" You know,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, why are you fixing the roof? It's like, wait, he hasn't found out about that. You know, he hasn't found out about the computer thing. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And Joe is absolutely right. Ruben is doing everything he can to avoid thinking about his current situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as being an addict. He is just choosing something instead of sitting and doing some introspection.
Mm-hmm.
He's choosing to do other things. That's why Joe is like, don't fix the roof, don't do anything. I need you just to sit. I need you to relax and calm down and be still and think about your situation, think about you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Ruben's never done that. He's always run away from everything and choosing other vices. Um, by the way, the sign for heroin addict, amazing. The hook for addict, so cool.
Oh yeah.
It's nuanced.
Yeah.
I like the sign for addict.
Yeah. It's yeah, that's something else about the film I love. You know, I've seen movies where, you know, they use sign language. Um I mean, like to give a really, really modern example of Kimiko and the boys, you know, her sign language is mixed with a little bit of just other things. But I felt like with this one, it was going back to what you're saying about Ruben being almost like a real person. I felt like the ASL was very real and very natural and very, you know, yes, some of these, well, primarily probably Riz Ahmed, you know, had to learn it, but you know, just it didn't feel put upon, you know.
No, and
Like
then
again,
there's no subtitles for the sign language, which I appreciate.
Well, and I did catch this because, as we know, I like to watch things with subtitles. There is one brief little moment, and it's when Ruben is starting to lean into sign language to ASL.
Mm-hmm.
They put subtitles on
because he understands.
and
once he understands, we can understand. And now, speaking of subtitles, did you watch this on your Criterion?
I did not, which is disappointing because that was the whole reason why I bought it.
I don't know. Listen, I can only assume, okay? I put my disc in, I played the movie, right? And the subtitles were on. I go, oh, let me go turn those off. I couldn't.
Oh.
So there is no section, like when I went to setup, it was just audio options. So it automatically played subtitles and I couldn't turn them off. Which I thought was really cool if that was done on purpose.
You know, maybe when we wrap the episode, while I still got you on, I'll pop it in real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know, I watched it on Prime, and you know, that's my default is just turn it on, but I was fully expecting to never know what they were signing.
Well, I appreciated when they would talk out loud and sign, you know, like as they spoke, you know, that's always appreciated.
Yeah. But yeah, then once Ruben starts to, you're right, once he starts to understand it, then they have the subtitles on, like when he's having that ASL competition with that kid about who can sign faster.
Yeah.
You know, it was saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. We'll have to confirm if that's a setting or if something's wrong with
if something's wrong with that.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about the last half of the movie.
Okay.
Post getting his cochlear implants activated and him going to Paris to surprise Lou. First of all, I want to say, if he was hurting for money and had to ask Joe for money, how the fuck did he get to Paris?
I don't know.
Like, I'm not trying to poke holes in this movie that I really, really loved. But we literally, and also, how did he pay for the hotel room? Sorry, I'm not trying to poke holes. But, you know, I love that the movie kind of brings Lou back into the fold, into the story, because I think we need to understand that not only is Ruben a different person now, but so is Lou.
Yeah.
Lou is no shade at all towards Ruben. Lou is happier. She's healthier.
Yeah.
And she's reforging a relationship with her father that she hasn't had since she was a little girl.
Right.
And so some might say that is progress.
Yes.
Which also, shout out to the actor who plays her dad.
Yeah.
I tried to learn his name. Don't remember it. But, I mean, everyone, you've probably seen him in something. You know, fucking Quantum of Solace.
He's in Munich, Quantum of Solace. I'm surprised you didn't say the Grand Budapest Hotel. That's on his...
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah, that's on his page.
He's Surge X. Oh, and he's in the French Dispatch as well. I think it's pronounced Mathieu Almeric.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I probably butchered that.
No, that's pretty good.
But I love that his accent really, really comes through. I like the fact that he the character of Richard, English really is his second language.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though obviously that actor, he knows how to speak both French and English pretty fluently in English, but yeah, I really, again, yeah, I'm taking back my statement about this movie not being devastating. No, I'm taking it back. Taking it back. No, it's cool. I'm taking it back.
That's funny.
Shout out to Clerks 2. I would say this is probably the second most devastating part of the film, which is Lou and Ruben are back together, and you know, I was optimistic. I was like, oh man, they're back together. They're gonna get their happily ever after, right? No, not at all. And it's because Ruben clocks that she starts scratching herself as soon as he's bringing up, like, you know, we're gonna get back on tour. We're gonna complete the album. You know, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that, because Lou is essentially, I would say, an anxiety tick. Scratches herself.
Yeah.
And I love that Ruben clocks that and realizes, I'm causing this. And it hurts, man.
I know. And it may not even be Ruben. It may just be like their way of life, or like, you know what I mean? Like they don't have any other choice, but to live that way, for what they want as their goal. Right. But yeah, I mean, they just grew apart. You know, visually, you know, the story chooses to change her hairstyle and the way she dresses, and she's more acclimated to life with her dad back in her life, and you know, living in Paris with all of these, you know, bourgeois, you know, rich folks, you know.
Yeah.
But this is like, in this part of the film, this is where we really get to feel what it's like with the implant at that party. I mean, it's just like a nightmare. Like I would have taken him out.
Yeah.
Because it was so overwhelming with the distortion and with the noise. And I would say besides Joe kicking him out, okay, I would say the second most devastating part of the film was when Lou is singing with her dad, and we slowly change from an outside perspective to Ruben's and what he's hearing, and it is just not the same. It is, and he knows it. And, you know, he's done all of this and sacrificed so much and you know, for this. And it's just disappointing, and it's sad, you know. I do agree with you that the very last moments of the film are uplifting and, you know, full of hope, and but up until then, I'm pretty sad.
Yeah, no, agreed that it's, like I said, looking back, yeah, it's pretty devastating. And I think the reason why I said it's a little uplifting is because in that final shot, it is almost like Ruben accepts, this is my life now, by taking out the implants and finally having that moment of stillness that Joe had essentially been begging him to have.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that is, you know, full stop, the whole point of that last moment of the film. But I also, you know, I kept thinking about this time, like, he sacrificed even just a little bit of noise, because once they do the surgery, it is complete silence. Like, you don't hear anything anymore, because they have to do the surgery and bypass the cochlear, right? and that's taking away all sound. And so before it was a little muffle, it was something, but now it's nothing. And this time I kept thinking like, wow, man, he really gambled everything for those implants, because before it he had at least something. Even though it was very little. And it might have gone away eventually, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing, which, in a way helps solidify his peace at the end. Because it is just him. When he takes off the implants. So.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's really, I think the reason why this movie is so good is because this is something that, I mean, like your wife said, new fear unlocked. This is something that happens all the time to people, and it's unfortunate, but also I love what the film also shows is that, like, you shouldn't pity them. They don't want pity, they just want to live their lives like normal. They just happen to can't hear. Also, I forgot to do a shout out to the actor who plays Diane. She's also in, I know this isn't a good example, but she's also in Marvel's Eternals.
Is she?
Yeah, she plays the speedster Makari, who was the first deaf actor in a Marvel film. So there's some good representation there, I guess. But yeah, she's great in this as well. But yeah, no, my point being is that, like, I feel like this film really shows that, like, again, like what Joe says, deafness is not a handicap, it's not a disability, and it's not something that needs to be fixed. Because even Ashley said, like, yeah, like that's how most of the deaf community feels. And I feel like this film really, really captured that, and really, didn't try to make deafness out to be like, oh, well, your life is over now.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. With that being said, buddy, are you ready to wrap up?
Yeah. No, I mean, this movie's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it's like nothing else. Riz Ahmed has never been better.
Agreed.
So good. And it should have won Best Picture.
Yeah, that should win Best Picture.
That should win Best Picture. Sound of Metal.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's so good. It is baffling that it didn't get any sort of. It was nominated for something, wasn't it? Though.
Oh, absolutely, it was. Let me see. Let me go back here.
Well, the fact it didn't win, insane, crazy, travesty.
Yeah. Let me see awards. It did win 2 Oscars. I assume one's for sound. Yeah, best sound and best achievement in film editing. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, the film is edited really, really tightly. No unnecessary shots.
I mean, it was also nominated for Best Picture. It was nominated for screenplay. Paul Rossi and Riz Ahmed were nominated too. So, I mean, it did get some recognition, but it should have,
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. Well, buddy. So what are we talking about next week? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous.
Are you?
Yeah, because I don't know what you've got up your sleeve.
Don't worry, it's fine. I was gonna make a joke. It was gonna be like Antichrist or something, but it's not. No, I think we'll be excited. I hope so anyway. Because it's a movie I love. Okay. This movie I want to be a nationwide must watch during the holidays. Okay. It's only 2 years old, so it's not like it doesn't have that staying power yet, but it will. I hope.
Okay.
Anyway, next week for our Christmas episode, we will be discussing 2023's Alexander Payne's The Holdovers next week.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm very excited.
The Holdovers is amazing. I love this movie. So
yeah, I mean, and we were just talking about movies that were nominated. I know Paul was nominated for this film. Dude, there's another movie that I really desperately wanted to see. I think we got it very briefly here in Midland, so I did not get to go see it in theaters. You told me you saw it and you were like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think Mom saw it and she even was like, you need to watch it. And I just love Paul Giamatti so much. I think he's so great.
Yeah.
I think he's such a wonderful actor, such a diverse range.
But I do have an assignment for you.
Okay.
When you're watching this movie, I want you to see if you can guess what movie it reminds me so much of, and it's a movie we've done before. Okay? It feels like this other movie, in very specific ways, and like almost it could have come out at the same time. Alexander Payne films this like a 70s film, so he's not only using like a soundtrack that sounds like it would fit it, but he's also using film techniques that were popular in the 70s. So like zooms, he's doing a lot of zooms, dissolves. I think this is shot in 16 millimeter, or maybe the grain was put in post. But there is film grain that makes it feel like a 70s film because it does take place in the 70s. So, yeah, it's incredible. And once you start the movie, you're going to understand why I'm so upset we don't use other people's music anymore. Because it's like, the soundtrack's amazing. So,
well, I mean, I was going to say, man, not being able to use the end track for this one.
I know. Not
sucks.
being able to use green. I'm so upset about that, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm super excited because I've really wanted to see the movie and hey, you know what? It is technically a Christmas movie.
It absolutely happens.
It's because of Christmas that the movie happens.
Yep. It is absolutely like it is not up for debate.
Cool. Yeah. Alrighty, man. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode on Sound of Metal, and we'll see you next week for The Holdovers.